My name is Hanna and I'm presenting this paper that I wrote together with Sara Renström and Håkansson from Rice Research Institutes of Sweden and Helena Strömberg, whom I'm working with at Chalmers University of Technology. We started this project in a scenario by the Swedish Energy Agency, where Sweden has managed to transition to nearly 100% renewable energy. Having a lot of weather-dependent electricity production means that there is a risk of power shortage, particularly during cold winter days with little wind. To deal with this, the scenario includes solutions that can be found also in many other visions of future energy use, such as smart grids, energy storage, and flexible energy users. But unlike other scenarios we had seen, it also explicitly included the option of households partly or fully being cut off from electricity supply for shorter durations. This may seem like a very undesirable future in a digitalized and electricity-dependent context like Sweden. Without electricity, no functioning stove or washing machine, you cannot plug in your phone to charge, your Wi-Fi stops working, and you might not even get any water. So it's not surprising that disturbances in electricity supply today typically are considered errors, problems, or crises that someone else should fix, and that temporarily make life difficult. But to enable a faster transition to renewable energy, we wanted to explore if there could be a future where occasional disturbances instead can be perceived as a part of everyday life that I can manage while living a good life. We call this idea household energy resilience, and it's different from how energy resilience in energy affluent contexts typically is perceived. In policy and also much research, the focus is mostly on securing energy supply and making the infrastructure itself resilient so that households don't experience any disturbances. HCI has, for example, explored how households can be supported in being more energy efficient and flexible, which could contribute to avoiding infrastructure breakdown. In our study, we instead wanted to explore how households thought they would manage actual disturbances and if it still could be considered a good life. For the study, we interviewed 21 participants from different households, from an off-grid household and people living in the countryside with more frequent power outages, to participants living in apartments with little control over their energy systems, and participants who could barely remember the last time they experienced a power outage. To prepare for the interview, all members of the participants' households received a workbook, encouraging them to reflect on how they use electricity today and to speculate on how they might be affected in a future with more power outages or caps on power use. After the interviews, the participants received text messages at different times with questions such as how they would manage or be affected by a power outage at that specific moment. From all this input, we could conclude that both participants with more experience of power outages and those with less thought they would manage shorter disruptions well. They could even see positive sides of these, such as getting more time with the family and saving time that might otherwise be less well spent on screen-based activities. But there were also concerns related to practices such as cooking or working, as well as concerns regarding important societal functions. For many participants, it was also important that disturbances were fairly distributed, that everyone is affected to the same extent, while some thought it should be voluntary or based on financial incentives. From how the participants managed or thought they would manage power disturbances, we identified 3 strategies for household energy resilience. One type we call response diversity, which means having different ways of achieving the same thing. It could be having backup energy sources such as a fireplace for heating or battery-powered devices, or using somewhat old-fashioned ways of doing things such as manually powered kitchen tools. Another strategy we identified is community resilience. This includes using electricity at friends and family, doing things together in a more resource-efficient way, and learning from others how to manage without electricity. The third strategy is related to opportunities to develop resilience. I'll go a bit deeper into the results of this strategy here, and you can read more about the other strategies in the paper. Not surprisingly, people learn to manage without electricity from experiencing blackouts. But most people in Sweden today have few opportunities to learn from real power outages. To develop resilience anyway, one strategy participants used was to integrate resilient products and practices into everyday life. One of the more prepared participants motivated this with: "The reason why I have it here is that I regularly use the things. If I don't use them, I won't know how to use them the day something happens." That makes a lot of sense, and it's something we think HCI should explore further. How can energy resilient devices and features be designed to naturally be used in the everyday? A flashlight and a battery-powered FM radio could both be used during power outages, and flashlights in our mobile phones are a good example of something that's integrated into a product we anyway use many times a day. Unfortunately, most phones no longer have FM radios though, so that's a missed opportunity for supporting resilience. People also developed energy resilience from engaging in low energy or energy independent activities such as camping. Activities like cooking over open fire or taking a cold and refreshing shower could even be considered nice experiences if happening occasionally. HCI could build on experiences that already contribute to energy resilience to support learning and skill development by, for example, highlighting or including resilience aspects in digital tools supporting outdoor life or cooking. Another implication for HCI is to communicate the need to learn and build up energy resilience. Current visions and scenarios for future energy systems typically present a future where everything runs smoothly without disruptions. We hope that the concept of household energy resilience could be used also by others to discuss different energy futures and how households can be supported in being resilient both to shorter disruptions and to more extensive ones. We would like to conclude by highlighting the inherent conflict in a digitalized energy system. On one hand, technology has the potential to support a good life in a renewable energy future. On the other hand, our increasingly digitalized and electricity-dependent lives make us more vulnerable to disruptions in such a future. As others have already pointed out, we shouldn't forget that there might be low-tech options that sometimes are even better than high-tech ones. And when we do develop digital solutions, it's important that we are mindful of what we might lose in terms of energy independency. That was all we had time for today, but there is much more in the paper. Thank you for listening, and just get in touch if you want to continue the discussion on different energy futures.